1989, one time I wrestled about 11 or 12-hour draws in a row. And I was in Florida, and of course I didn't go to bed when I was in Florida. Who does, right? You know, I just got up and worked out and went to the arena and wrestled another hour. And I just wrestled a guy named Butch Reed. Remember Butch Reed? In Orlando, and I had about 10 stitches in my head, and I was tired. I had to leave for Tokyo the next day to wrestle 5 consecutive hour-long matches with Saruda and Tenryu and Jumbo Saruda, Tenryu, and I can't think of the other guy on All Japan back then. Now Choshu was with New Japan. I have wrestled with them. There's nobody I haven't wrestled, brother, okay? So, man, I was cracked, and I called my dad. My dad was a doctor, you know, and he lived in Minneapolis. I called him on payphone, and I said, Dad, God, my heart's beating like crazy. I said, do you think there's something wrong with me? He said, yeah, when was the last time you went to bed? And I had to think about that for a minute, you know. Probably a month ago, you know, who knows. So the next morning I got up in Tampa, and I flew from Tampa to Chicago, and I got on number 3 on Northwest. I used to have to memorize. It was number 3 going over, number 4 coming back. And man, I drank all the way to Tokyo, and I cracked. I just cracked, you know, 14 hours, I cracked. I said, I can't do it. I was exhausted. So back then they gave us first class round trip tickets. So I just walked across the corridor, and I could hear Baba's wife going, Ric Flair, son, report to baggage claim, and I just bought a ticket back to the States. And they just turned my ticket in a hat. And a half hour later, I was on a plane going back. This stuff, my luggage. And I flew all the way back through Seattle to Chicago to Charlotte. And of course, I got hammered going back too. I met some guy and told him my life story 5 times. He kept me alive. He must have thought I was nuts. He sent me a Christmas card for about 10 years. You okay? I said, no. But I got off the plane in Charlotte, and Jimmy Crockett, who was the president of the NWA, then said, you got to go back to Tokyo. So goddamn, if I didn't get back an hour later, go to Charlotte, Chicago, and fly all the way back. And I had to wrestle an hour. I landed at the airport at 4 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, I was in the ring for an hour. So I made it through that first night. I said, I got drunk again, you know, and stayed 5 more days. But that's one of the stories that is legendary, you know. The women thing, you know, that's easy, you know. I'm 0 for 4 in that department. I do not give marital advice to anybody.
Rick, there's another question we have for you. There's a rumor about something crazy that happened with you and Terry Funk.
Which time? Which one?
Something about you fisticuffs with him on a street corner or in an intersection?
No, it's more about Terry Funk than me, so I don't want to tell him Terry, you know. Okay. He was the world champion, and I was driving around, and he got drunk, and I got drunk, and next thing I knew, my wife threw myself out in the front yard, and we were at the hotel. I don't want to tell you what Terry did. Well, obviously the first one was really awesome, but I think winning again in Starrcade, the first Starrcade against Harley, the first time was kind of like, it was so competitive to become the world champion back then. 10 people voted, you know. It was one of those things that I got in, and you know, a year later I dropped it back to Harley in St. Louis, and then about 8 months after I got it back in Greensboro. And that's really what launched my championship career, you know. Being a one-time, there's a lot of one-time guys, Tommy Rich, you know, down the line. And but when I got it back the second time, I was prepared for it. I knew what I was doing, and I was prepared to prove what I was. That was Tully Blanchard.
Oh, okay, yes. Do you mind telling them the story?
No, there's a shoe store in Atlanta that caters. It's every athlete in every major sport goes to Bruce Friedman's shoe store in downtown Atlanta. He carries in like size 20 alligator shoes now, right? So, boy, that's another mistake. I went in there one day, And I was there the same time as Pete Rose, Dave Parker, Dave Concepcion, like 4 of the Reds were there. I just spent like 30 grand. So I got to hang around these guys. I spent like 10 grand on shoes one day. It's like 5 pairs of shoes. I mean, that's what's up. But that was what got me going on the alligator shoes. Hence, these shoes cost more than your house, brother. You know, WrestleMania is, you know, the event and the marquee value and all the stuff that goes into it, but you know, as Santino would tell, we wrestle in arenas every night with this screaming and hollering. You know, that's a bigger venue. Like where I retired at the Citrus Bowl was like 78,000, you know. But you know, sometimes, believe it or not, it's being a 20,000 seat when the building's rocking is even better to work in front of than a stadium, you know, because the people can't really see you sometimes when they're not sitting ringside, you know. So, no, it's awesome. But what makes WrestleMania spectacular is the stuff that goes into the show, and the pyro and the set, and everybody knows it's our marquee event. The Super Bowl. I mean, if I was a wrestling fan, and I tell football players all the time, WrestleMania is a cooler event than the Super Bowl.
1,000%. Oh, yeah.
Or the NBA All-Star Game. You know, they got the guys walking through the entrances, you know, into the building now with their headphones on. We've been doing that for 20 years. Hello. No, this is a genius, man. Everybody picks up our stuff, you know. But if you go to WrestleMania, and you're sitting in that crowd and you're watching the pyro and the entrances and the guys coming out. I mean, like, Chris, what's got an entrance like Undertaker in any business, right? I don't care. I love LeBron James. I got a man crush on LeBron. But when he walks out the door, it's not as cool as Undertaker does. It just is what it is. It's cool, you know. And it's the same like when the Hunter's entrance this year, with my daughter was on the float. So that was pretty cool. But the stuff they do and the money they spend, you know, to give these guys these entrances, you know, it is what it is. If I was 35 years old, they'd have to pay me $50 million a year right now. That's somewhere I'd wear the shoes. I mean, that's what's...
Watch out, world, I'm ready to happen. Eyes wide open, no more napping. Stand up, boy, get the 2 feet tapping. They laugh first, but now who's laughing? Push me back, and I'll push harder. Getting bigger, faster, stronger. See the pain.